super excited to be here. That's a lot of hype for us right now. Now we got to deliver, guys. I think this has been the best welcome I ever had in any of these events. Amazing, amazing here. We are here to discuss about an interesting topic about the pillars of crypto infrastructure. We are going to talk about the scalability, the security, and the decentralization aspects. But before I dive in, I want to understand real quick. The industry has grown so much. We talked about this blockchain trilemma years ago, that the blockchain is not secure enough, it's not scalable for the real-world applications, and that it's not decentralized. I know things are not perfect, but I personally believe we have come a long way, and we are in a situation right now for the real-world businesses to function in the world of blockchain, on blockchains, solving these three problems. If you believe we are ready, can you just say A and raise your hand? If you believe you're ready for the adoption, the mass adoption that we've all been waiting for, that's great. That's amazing. So now we're going to jump into some intricate details and questions about it. But the first question that I want to address, apart from these three in the pillars, the security, the scalability, and decentralization, do you believe there's anything else that we should consider, anything else that we believe we are missing out when we talk about pillars of this crypto infrastructure? Why don't we start with you, Tomasz?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I think performance and cost, sustainability, right, are very important as well. Without these, users really don't want to use blockchains that are too expensive.
For me, I would say privacy. So the lack of privacy within Ethereum, EVM, or to say the whole blockchain is kind of like slowing down the development of the blockchain. So I would say getting the privacy preserving like funds transfer as well as like cross-chain privacy and some of the transaction privacy would be good for the future of development. Yeah.
I would say there are two other things. One is usability, user friendliness. Now at this moment, most of the user for the blockchain technology is very, I would say, not really average day user like people using payment. People need to understand a lot of like arcane methodology to use it safely. And the other thing I think is very important is the regulation. I think the regulation actually give more confidence and trust for the people to play in this field.
I think that's a very, very good answer, Shawn, there. If you ask me personally, looking at where we stand in the world of blockchain, if I have to redefine the trilemma, I would say it's about the user experience, the user onboarding, and the user value. If you have these three things, you change from where we are. With this current trilemma, we moved from a point where it takes minutes to do a transaction and all of the challenges to this point where user are the key. With no user, we don't get anywhere. So between this security, the scalability, and decentralization, what do you believe about the trade-off? Do we really need, for every business, every point in time, every chain, should they meet these three criteria? Is that perfect utopian reality and mandatory essence, or some form of sacrifice to bring the businesses on chain is okay and acceptable? What do you think?
Yeah, I actually don't think we need to make the trade-offs. With innovations like OPBNB, right, we are delivering performance, we are delivering scalability, we are delivering security in one, and the user experience. So I don't know. I think today we are ready to do it without trade-offs.
Well, I think there could be some trade-offs, and I think like if you want to achieve like three of the pillars at the same time, that's an ideal world. But unfortunately, we don't live in an ideal world. And well, having a little bit trade-off should be okay. And I think people, especially when you're talking about breaking these three pillars, people are talking about should we rely on the technology and stuff like that. But I think like one of the most important things is actually VC money. How much runway do you have to burn to keep on your development to actually achieve that state? That is actually a good challenge. Yeah.
Technically, I do think there's a trade-off between the three. This is the problem I think most of the builders trying to solve, right? We still have the trade-off between security and the scalability, decentralization. But on the other hand, I don't think we really need a perfect solution for all the applications. You certainly can build a specific network application or ecosystem that are targeting a specific type of applications. That's where you can make trade-offs.
I think
So you believe we can build the applications that we need to build with the technology we have today?
Yes, I think in general we made a big progress in the area. We can talk about it later, but in general we don't have a perfect solution yet.
I think that's very true because like OPBNB, you are trying to bring that perfect solution. And I think it's an innovation is a journey. It doesn't happen overnight and it's getting there. But at this point in time, if you look at a business trying to probably bring their employee incentive scheme online, they don't care about decentralization because it's about a company and their employees. They care about transparency. They're not looking at the whole world validating them. So the needs of businesses are different, and in many instances, it's simple. It doesn't require all of those three, like both Shawn and Jason you mentioned. Now that we address the pillars, I want to address a little more on the security. We actually have two security audit company experts on here, Shawn and Jason. So this question is more, let's start from you. When it comes to the world of blockchain, we talk that it's trustless. But in reality, it's not trustless. The trust is not on a person, the person that you deal with, the counterparty on the other side, but the trust is on code. So in reality, we don't know how to read code. Most of them don't. So who do we trust? We trust Shawn and Jason. We trust them because they audit the code. They look at the code and they verify, validate, and say, hey, this particular code that you're looking at right now, that you're putting your millions of hard-earned money on, is good. It's verified, validated, and our experts have done that. They place the trust on the code and on the people who can read the code. That bridge between the projects, businesses, and the users is that connection of people that you don't see who verify and validate it. So I want to understand from your perspective, starting with you, Jason, what is your view on these businesses moving to the world of Web3 and the importance of security and how you perceive that personally?
Yeah, security absolutely is the most important element for us to have a mass adoption. People eventually they seem to have a trust in the system. The trust in a big part of it is built on the security. And when I talk about security, actually it's a broader concept. There's a very common misconception on the security. People mostly talk about the code security, talking about the audit. But there's a large part of security actually is beyond that. And even looking at the code security, there's a code security at the smart contract level, at the infrastructure level, at the Web2 component, at the wallet. So the scope actually is very, very big. But most of the time, people talk about security, they seem to be focusing a lot on the smart contract security. This is a concept I hope more people can adopt it. And besides the code security, there's also the security on the people behind the project, on the general trust. Okay, even the code is secure, then some project insider, they may be able to pull some backdoor and pull the fund. But those things are what we need is actually more like a industry standard on, okay, how do you define the governance? How do you maintain the project treasury? All these kind of security, I think it's a very big concept. Unless we have really kind of this full suite of security in place, we're going to have a lot of challenges for having mass adoption.
I think that's one of the reasons why you guys have KYC of the owners, the
Yes.
constant monitoring, and bunch of different
That's
products.
That's why we are spending a lot of time not only doing audit. We're trying to develop a suite of product services to help Web3 projects, Web3 builders to secure their projects. In the meantime, we're also trying to bring easy to understand and security focused data insights to the community. You can go to our website, you can see our security leaderboard. This will help us to bring in more trust and transparency to the community. And this will be the key element to have, for one day we have the mass adoption.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, trusting, I think when it comes to users, they just trust like how much money and as well as like infrastructure, how well it's built out. But I also want to point out one thing. I agree that like auditing is not the whole thing of security. There's a lot of Web3 thing behind it. So like penetration testing as well is something like a project should do. But there's one interesting initiative that is brought up by same city's son, think like a month ago or something. So it's called the Seal Drill Initiative. So basically, it's not just audit, but it's like kind of to help projects to better defend themselves when they are under attack. So they simulate an attack for this against their protocol. So we work with SimCs and pretty close. We are actually one of the top 10 in Paradigm CTF as well. So we are trying to do this to a lot of the other projects that we're working with as well. So the core point of this drill is not to cause panic. Is that actually to you to understand the dependency, the comms, and the teamwork when an urgent incident happens. So a project itself, you don't just rely on the audit and the pen testing. You should be evolving yourself with OffSec and all of these things to try to see if you can handle an attack if it happens in the protocol. So that's part of the thing that we'll be working on as well for a lot of our the protocols that we're working with. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with the holistic approach. I also would add that security is a responsibility of everyone, right? So on the blockchain side, we need to think of how we build securely. We have things like Avenger DAO that monitor the activity on the blockchain and then provide alerts. I think that's critical that everybody thinks of security. I also think that time proven, right? Like BNB Smart Chain is time proven. Ethereum's time proven. Bitcoin's time proven. I think time is also on our side, right? The longer these things exist there, the more secure they become.
So we have this whole buzz around the ZK ecosystem, the zero knowledge proof and what's happening around it. It has been attracting the interest of the VCs in the space through this last 18 months. And I want to understand from a security standpoint and from a chain standpoint, how is zero knowledge proof's privacy and security playing a role in the overall crypto infrastructure from your perspective? Let's start with you, Thomas.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it's moving as quickly as we want to, right? Today, zero knowledge is basically used to create layer 2s, to roll up data, to compress the data, but the pillars of confidentiality are not being implemented at scale, right? There's nothing more in terms of privacy or confidentiality on ZK EVMs or ZK Sync blockchains than it is on the optimistic blockchains. So I think we need to do better, because you did mention that, I think you did, right, that privacy and confidentiality are important for adoption. Completely agree. I think ZK is promising that. People say zero knowledge, but in reality, we see little of it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so ZKP is definitely interesting, as well as like the privacy issue, as well as like Vitalik, I think a couple of weeks ago, he also proposed the same thing as well. The lack of privacy in Ethereum is actually a big issue. So like in the future, we should like conquer that as well. So Salus has been doing in that field as well. So a few weeks ago, we actually proposed a new framework on ETH Research website, which became one of the highest popularity article on ETH Research. But TLDR, basically, currently, if your projects are deployed on any Ethereum or EVM chain, we have the ability. So as long as your blockchain supports Solidity, you don't have to move to a ZK layer 2 or 0 rollups anymore to achieve ZK functionality, let's say privacy. Now there's a project that we're working with that are building up a dark pool. If you know the terms dark pool, people do a high trades there and then they hide the price there. But in TradFi, this is not perfect, because like there's still one single point of failure, because that's the dark pool provider. They can still leak that out, or they want to use that information to their advantage. But a decentralized output that we're working with right now with this framework, we can effectively, using ZKP, to conceal your price among all this liquidity. So that's the thing we're doing. And then we foresee like the best environment for ZK to deploy on is to Ethereum and EVM, because if there's no liquidity, there's meaningless to have like privacy. So and then we're using this to help the development of the whole blockchain industry, as well as Ethereum and EVM. So you have best of both worlds. You have the liquidity, you have the users, and you still stay on the same chain, and you enjoy the privacy function for the apps as well. Yeah.
CK basically provide a mechanism where you can prove the validity of information without seeing revealing the information itself, right? So this is being largely used in the layer 2 because the optimum sort of type stack, they have this issue of where you send your layer 2 transaction to layer 1, but then you have 7 days to appeal to do the fraud proof challenge. So CertiK provided a capability you can see, you can kind of instantly reach the finality of the transaction in the layer 2, right? But then I think the challenge now currently we are seeing is, first of all, there's obviously bringing a lot of more complexity in the design, in the computation complexity, the power. Whenever you have a complex system, complexity is never a good friend for security. When you have a complex system, you need people to understand how to use it. There will be more complex interfaces between different modules. And at this time, there's no standard. So easily, we can have more security problems. And people probably focus more on the ZK cryptography itself, algorithm itself. But oftentimes, what we see, the security issue is between different modules, the interface between different modules, where we see potentially there's still going to be a lot of problems. So I think we're moving in the right direction. We made a big progress, but we still have a long way to go.
Perfect. And I think the next pillar is on the scalability, the most concerning part that has been harped over and over and over in the space. So when it comes to scalability, we have explored many new solutions. We have tried layer 2s, and right now roll-ups are a big thing. So I want to understand, again, if you have any specific thoughts on what you foresee to be the next solutions that bring the improvement to the scalability without compromising the decentralization, the security, and also the speed, if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think today we have more block space than we are using. So I don't think we have a scalability problem. I think layer 2s more or less have solved that, right? When I say solved that, yes, there are some things that still need to be developed, but at a high level, I don't think that's the biggest problem to solve. I think the next one is the confidentiality, privacy, and then frankly, we are truly enterprise ready. We are ready for broad adoption. But look, I think the solution's here. I think it's layer 2s, they work, and they provide the scalability we need.
Yeah, I also agree that scalability, at least from my opinion, I don't think it's like much of a more crucial problem right now. According to like, if you go on to L2B and look at it right now, they recorded at least like 57 layer 2s right now from optimistic or ZT rollups. So each of them, they have their own characteristic, their own advancement. So again, I think like time would actually, as time evolve, like all these like scalability issue would be, deal with, and then privacy still remain one of the big thing. And then as well as I think like for people like they are trying to balance between scalability and decentralization and a lot of other things. It's okay to have like something like looser in the beginning, but like when you evolve, like you always chase for the better things. Yeah. So pretty much it.
Yeah. Over the years. I think a lot of builders are trying to solve the scalability issue without sacrificing on the security and decentralization. We've seen multiple technology, right? People start with like have state channels, plasma, side channels, sharding, changing the consensus mechanism. Now it's basically layer 2. Looks like layer 2 seems to be the most popular option now. But then look at the Ethereum history. They changed the consensus mechanism from POW to POS. Actually, that's trying to solve the scalability issue, right? And then we also have the new upgraded plan for the sharding, which is also trying to solve the scalability issue. So eventually, I personally believe it's going to be a multiple type of technology solve different issues, again, based on the application, based on the use case.
When MySQL launched, we didn't travel around the world to go for MySQL conference. We didn't do that for NoSQL and all of that. But we do that for blockchain. Because blockchain is just a distributed ledger. It's a data storage part. But we didn't really come all the way for that technology. We came because of the philosophy behind it, philosophy of decentralization. The philosophy is what connects everyone here. And it's that philosophy and that vision of what we see the world to be with decentralization that motivates us, every cell in our being, for all of us as a community from around the world to be united by a single idea. And I believe that decentralization is the core of what blockchain represents. But I also believe that blockchain and the philosophy here brings about one more important quality, that is a choice. We as humans are given that power to choose whether we want a centralized solution or a decentralized solution. It is that empowerment that is important than just pushing everyone towards one thing, even if they believe it or not. Decentralization is not the holy grail, but it is an option, a better option, as most of us believe, which is why we are here. But I want to understand, in your opinion, where we stand with the decentralization right now, because we see more regulated entities in the space. We see CBDCs, we see a lot of RWAs, which are all regulated, KYC-driven, centralized, probably even something that you cannot take out of a particular blockchain. With all of that, I wanted your view on decentralization at this point in time. Are we still holding true to the essence of this community, the essence and the reason why every one of us are here? Where do we stand?
I think it's a journey, and this journey will take many, many years, right? Today, most systems we use are not decentralized. But the promise of this system and the ability for everyone in this room to experiment with decentralized systems and have the option is massive. I mean, 15 years of Bitcoin, but you can send value across the internet permissionlessly. That's proven, that works, right? You can now run applications on BNB Smart Chain that are permissionless. So, look, yes, I think we have to figure out the balance between control, regulation, etc., but it's getting better every day. It may not feel like that, right? Because we read the news, we get upset with something that's happening, for example, in US, with SEC, etc. But then, in reality, we are getting more and more choices given to us to develop these applications. So I think it's a positive change.
Yeah, I think everyone here understands like the importance of decentralization. Otherwise, I don't know like why you're here. But as for like the people who are choosing centralized or decentralized function or like the way the path to choose it, I think they have their reason. I would say like, of course, the idea is like everything is like decentralized, but due to compliance and this and that, you might not be able to do that. But I would rather like refer this to as the transition stage, because like due to technical barriers, due to like unclear regulation from countries to countries, so it's hard to achieve some of the decentralization like of the ideal one that we want. But as I said again, like as time evolves, technical barriers will lower down. People from the regulators will understand more about this as they engage more. Like if you look at the state we are in crypto right now compared to maybe like, let's say, 5-6 years ago, it's a totally different landscape right now. People, like especially you mentioned CBDC, good governments are trying to do something with it, even though like there might be some centralized part. But I believe like as time evolve, like things will get more decentralized as it's supposed to be. And then yeah, I'm looking for that as well.
Yeah, I agree with Thomas. I think decentralization at this moment is not at where it should be. I mean, we still have a long way to go, but to us, as a security firm, decentralization is very, very important because it actually comes hand in hand with security. You have more decentralized entity, you will be less prone to like 51% attack. You will have more security. You can potentially have like certain node being compromised, but then that will still operate. So to us, decentralization is very, very important for security. And for us, we think, because eventually, it's still coming back to the mass adoption goal is people need to have trust. A trust come to security. Security actually come with decentralization.
Perfect. So now we have covered the pillars. I want to understand what is the future. What is the future along the lines of security, scalability, and decentralization? What are the key words of the technologies or the next impact solutions in the blockchain space that comes to your top of your mind the moment you talk about the future? Yeah, Jason, do you have something to share?
We'll go into other order.
Okay. I think we still have some critical problems we haven't really solved in this space, right? Because initially, when I mentioned about regulation, I think regulation it will be necessary, and we really welcome regulation. But then, for example, how do you regulate decentralized application? I mean, how do you really, you can put all kinds of law or rules, but how do you really implement? These are the problems I think we still need to have solution from not only the government side, but technology, the builder side. Actually, I was saying that in some sense, decentralized application could be easier to regulate because everything can be written in the code. Code is law, right? So I think these are some problems that we still need to solve going forward. And then the other thing is like, I think also at the beginning when I mentioned the usability, ultimately the technology should be so user-friendly, people shouldn't even know. When I make a payment, underlying is using a certain network blockchain, because when you use PayPal, do you know how it works? It don't really work. It can be any technology underlying. This is also something that I think we as a builder should be working on.
So I think for the future trend, it can be categorized into a few different categories. Like you have the really technical part, like the blockchain underlying text. You got the dApps part. You got, of course, like the regulation part, like where a lot of these big boys are playing with crypto. For the technical part, especially for anyone who wants to actually like dive in a much deeper tech and then like try to do the advancement there, it's good to check out because like we, like it or not, the whole crypto is kind of like a big percentage and big portion of that evolves around Ethereum and EVM. So if you can go and look at like Ethereum's like roadmap, like I think there's a few upgrades there: the purge, the surge, the scrouge, a lot of these like different terms, and then each of them to lay out like the roadmap for Ethereum. But I wouldn't say, from my perspective, I don't think like it's just Ethereum. It's like for the whole future of blockchain. So what is lacking and what is needed. So you guys, if you guys are interested, you guys can go ahead and look at that and see like if there's something interested that you can potentially put it on, and then start from there. For dApps, we got so many different things: SocialFi, GameFi, DeFi. Some of the things that popping up recently, like SocialFi, like Tomo, a lot of these things. But all these innovation, it should be coupled with like technical advancement as well. So recently, we have a lot of this like account abstraction thing. The ZKP is one of them, and privacy, and so on. And not to mention the Dankun upgrade coming up as well. So as a future trend, for myself, I don't know like what would be like the exact trend because like we can't tell. And blockchain is a ecosystem that doesn't like a black swan event as well. We might be good right now, but next month we might be kind of screwed. So, but the thing is that we need to stay as a builder, keep on building. Even though like sometimes we fail, but we should stand up at the same time and then seek for more advancements to evolve the whole ecosystem. Thank you.
Do you have something to add, Thomas?
I do really quickly. I think the impact of artificial intelligence will be massive. It's already being seen. It will be massive when it comes to media, social, etc. And frankly, there are different views on that. It's a great innovation, but there are also dangers associated with it. And I frankly think that people only have blockchain to control AI, right? Because blockchain is math, AI is math, and those two must come together because that's how people will interact with artificial intelligence. And I think only math can move at the speed of AI. So I see the future of those two technologies really, really merging. AI and blockchain is probably what will save humanity.
Guys, to conclude this from this conversation, the blockchain trilemma is reasonably solved for us to build real-world applications. We are done transferring the money between all of us over and over for the last 10 years. We want to bring real applications to life on blockchain, and that can happen thanks to account abstraction kind of wallets, which make it easy to onboard users with Google, Facebook signups, and real-world assets where people can own money for themselves in a more tangible form. A lot of interesting things are up and coming, and the new trilemma is user adoption. We are in for a great journey, and all the best for every one of you. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.